Let's begin with the crazy and slowly make our way to the ones that are literally unfathomable. Number 1. Project MKOFTEN. If you thought MK Ultra was the pinnacle of bizarre government projects, its spin-off, MKOFTEN, ventured even further into the extraordinary. This late 1960s CIA initiative delved into the shadowy intersection of hallucinogens and fringe parapsychology. Covertly funded experiments aimed to unlock psychic abilities like telepathy and precognition in unwitting prisoners by leveraging experimental drugs. But it gets even weirder, as declassified memos paint a strange picture. Labs equipped not just with syringes, but also tarot cards, as chanting sessions sought to test paranormal weaponization. The existence of these clandestine projects, with their ominous acronyms and veiled references to supernatural capabilities, was eventually confirmed by leaked Department of Defense files. For instance, one documented protocol allegedly involved administering a potent psychedelic to a subject and then having them attempt to telepathically influence the outcome of a Zener card test being conducted in another room, all while under intense auditory stimulation. So, adjust your tinfoil hat. These ritualistic procedures entwined with chemical dosing weren't mere fiction. They were sanctioned government programs, hidden deep within classified archives. Once dismissed as fringe conspiracy fodder, MKOFTEN now stands as chilling proof that reality can indeed be stranger than even the wildest CIA-inspired science fiction. Number 2. Operation Mockingbird. If you've ever sensed a subtle tilt in certain news narratives, the reasons might be darker than you imagine, as the CIA began secretly recruiting prominent reporters and media outlets as early as the late 1940s. Revelations from the declassified 1975 Church Committee hearings exposed agency memos detailing the active placement of propaganda across newspapers, magazines, and radio broadcasts. Picture this: editors receiving draft stories directly from intelligence officers. No bylines, no attribution, just an invisible hand molding public perception. Leaked internal documents later confirmed these covert relationships involved dozens of news organizations, from major wire services to influential columnists. So hold on to your skepticism. This wasn't merely occasional planted copy. It was a systematic campaign to steer public opinion on critical foreign policy and national security matters. Once dismissed as a fringe conspiracy theory, Operation Mockingbird now resides in public archives, offering chilling proof that the news itself might have been scripted by spies. Number 3. The business plot. Shadowy whispers of fascism start our dive into domestic coups. You might think overthrowing a president is pure fiction, but in 1933, Major General Smedley Butler revealed wealthy financiers actually plotted to topple Roosevelt. Butler testified that these industrial titans offered him command of a veterans' army poised to march on Washington and install a corporate dictatorship. This was likely due to FDR's New Deal policies, which they saw as a threat to capitalism, his moves to take the U.S. off the gold standard, and his rhetoric against unchecked corporate power. Historians later unearthed detailed lists of silent investors and confidential memos outlining coup logistics, proving this wasn't tabloid fodder, but a very real threat. Once dismissed as a gigantic hoax, the business plot now stands as a stark warning. The greatest peril to freedom may lurk behind gilded bank vaults. Number 4. Operation Popeye. You might think rain is natural, but for several years the U.S. Air Force secretly seeded clouds to extend the monsoon season and flood the Ho Chi Minh Trail. Pentagon Papers leaks revealed code-named missions that dumped silver iodide into the sky, conjuring artificial storms to bog down enemy convoys. Leaked declassified memos confirmed Operation Popeye existed, despite public denials and diplomatic protests when locals realized their villages were underwater more often. This was one of history's most audacious weather warfare experiments, directly leading to United Nations treaties banning environmental modification for hostile purposes. Popeye now stands as proof that the sky itself can be conscripted for covert military operations, turning clouds into silent soldiers. Number 5. Operation Chaos. You might think domestic spying is the FBI's turf, but from 1967 to 1974, the CIA secretly mapped U.S. anti-war protesters, civil rights groups, and student activists. Ever wondered why anti-government rallies sometimes felt infiltrated? Declassified files show agents collected personal dossiers and wiretaps on thousands of citizens. Leaked documents revealed code names like MHKOS, scrawled across dossiers profiling innocent Americans, all without warrants or congressional oversight. This wasn't a one-off glitch, but a full-scale domestic espionage operation hidden under layers of classification. Once the Church and Rockefeller Commission hearings exposed these abuses in 1975, the public finally learned how deeply their own government had betrayed them. Number 6. Operation Snow White. You might think cult break-ins are fictional plot devices, but from 1973 to 1977, the Church of Scientology's Guardian's Office carried out hundreds of burglaries and wiretaps on government agencies. Agents infiltrated offices, copied files, and stole documents in a mission to purge unfavorable records. FBI raids in 1977 unearthed thousands of stolen documents and exposed a sprawling network of covert operatives working under religious cover. Once buried under layers of religious privilege, Operation Snow White's files eventually saw daylight in federal court, leading to the conviction of top Scientology leaders. Your jaw will drop when you realize a church nearly out-espied the CIA, turning theology into a front for one of the most audacious domestic infiltration plots ever. Number 7. Operation Gladio. While NATO is often synonymous with peacekeeping and collective defense, a shadowy chapter known as Operation Gladio reveals a more complex and disturbing reality. Across Western Europe, clandestine stay-behind networks were established, funded by the CIA and MI6. These were secret armies, often composed of civilian volunteers and ex-military personnel, designed to operate behind enemy lines and form a resistance movement in the event of a Soviet invasion and occupation of their country. However, the truth, as unveiled in declassified Italian parliamentary hearings in 1990, was far more sinister. Evidence emerged that Gladio operatives were involved in staging false flag terrorist attacks, designed to manipulate public opinion and justify political repression against leftist movements. Imagine this: hidden networks of operatives, including retired military personnel, secretly stockpiling weapons in rural safehouses. These forces, initially intended for post-invasion resistance, were not only prepared for an external threat, but could also be deployed against their own civilian populations. For decades, democratically elected governments remained largely unaware of these secret armies operating within their borders. The existence of Operation Gladio, long denied, was finally confirmed in 1990 by Italian Prime Minister Giulio Andreotti. This admission sent shockwaves across Europe, shattering public trust in governments and intelligence agencies. Number 8. Project 1794 turned sci-fi into reality as the ultimate government UFO experiment. You might think flying saucers belong in alien movies, but in the 1950s, the U.S. Air Force commissioned Avro Canada to design a supersonic disc capable of vertical takeoff. Declassified Air Force schematics released in 2012 show blueprints for a saucer-shaped VTOL aircraft intended to reach Mach 3 and altitudes above 100,000 feet. Imagine pilots strapped into a spinning disc, blasting off like a cosmic frisbee. No tubes, no wings, just raw acceleration. Leaked cost analyses and test reports revealed the project was abandoned around 1960 due to stability issues and astronomical budgets, but the designs remained classified for decades. Once relegated to Area 51 myths, Project 1794's existence proves truth can be just as strange as rumor, complete with secret labs, hush-hush tests, and dreams of government-made flying saucers.